And we are coming down in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Getting Sports with Drunk. I'm your hostess, Cupcake the Riddler, and I'm joined by Gene Washable.
No.
Awkward Silent Souls.
Fast Chris Massey.
And the Red of a Red Baron.
You're a snake. You're a snake.
I have to be a rat and a snake?
Yes.
Alright.
You eat yourself, bitch.
Kendall, congratulations. You're 1/6 of the Chinese calendar.
Thank you.
You'll never be an ox, though.
No shot. But listen, that's the recognition I was looking for.
You are a cock, though.
Is that part of the calendar?
Yeah.
She has a rooster.
Oh.
Where are the roosters, Kendall?
Where are the roosters?
We are the roosters.
Oh.
1993.
Oh. Yeah, I'm actually I'm not amazed, but I guess I'm amazed at how little I know and how much you guys know about this.
I took a class on it.
I've read it twice.
No, he didn't.
So, shout out to the Cox, Souls and I, and whatever you guys are.
I think Mock's a monkey or something like that.
Yeah, Mock and I are a couple baboons.
Massey, you're 92?
I'm also a monkey.
Yeah, Massey's also a monkey.
Kendall was a 2 cocks, baby.
Hey, they say 2 is better than 1 anyway.
I don't think a lot of people say that.
I just heard it on TV shows and whatnot.
Although I will say, a last-minute toast of excellence. A former adult film star, Adriana Chechlik, fractured her back at TwitchCon.
Yeah.
That's hot.
He jumped into like a foam pit that had very little foam.
Yeah, it was just straight concrete underneath.
And then someone immediately posted a picture of Johnny Sins and said, "The doctor waiting at TwitchCon."
Oh, man.
Classic.
Internet stays undefeated.
I just caught this Zubat from up above. This thing had no fucking clue what was coming. Starting lineups.
From Two Roads Brewing, I am drinking Straight City Hazy Juicy IPA. Thank God it's the last one.
Right.
Sounded like me. Like, Kyle could just go ahead and just either not drink that beer or do whatever he wants with it, but he's just gonna, just get through it. Right out, man after my own heart. Just deal with it.
Mock's drinking a Budweiser.
I'm on the water train at the moment.
I'm also on the water train.
I came home so dry. We bought the wrong kind of water like 4 times.
What does that even mean?
So like, mineral water is fucking terrible. So
Okay.
we only bought 2 cases of fucking that. And then the next day we went. The fucking translator said it said spring water. And it wasn't. It was sparkling water, and that's terrible. So we just kept buying the wrong kind of fucking water.
Just over and over.
You never got water. You just got offshoots.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't. I'm telling you, a lot of shit went wrong, man.
Yeah, we got to see a smoking hot school teacher.
That was funny. Fucking, what's up?
I could just picture him doing that too.
Yeah, was the school teacher's name Mrs. Lisa Ann?
It was Mr.
Ugh.
Hey, it's 2022.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Lisa Sins. It just evolved my Gasoline.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
what beer did it evolve into?
I'm actually drinking water as well, but of the liquid death variety.
Nice.
Yeah.
We gotta
Yeah, we
change
gotta-
the name of our show.
I'm not
Gonna
drinking
be a
water.
bunch of bitches now.
I'm drinking from the Riddler collection, which should be no surprise to anyone who's listened to one episode of the show. But
But you're a cheap fuck.
I
Well,
was
actually, it would be kind of somewhat of a surprise, Kendall, because they don't have a large sample size to compare that to.
true. The Riddler, who has graciously provided many things I've drank over the years. I have
More like all of them.
Kyle. Please don't interrupt me when I'm trying to, gaslight here. I'm drinking a whiskey sour. Riddler provided me with this pre-made mix, this classic lemon sour mix from Ripe Bar Juice, which is Connecticut-based in Wallingford.
Is that any good?
It is very good. In fact, it's good enough to just drink on its own. But being the boozer that I am, I mixed it with Crown Royal. I made some whiskey sours over the weekend, and I saved just enough for the show tonight. So I'll be enjoying that.
Did you save it in a thermos?
Nope, in the actual bottle that the mix came in.
That checks out.
Like a real
Yeah.
drunkard.
Anybody have any toasts of excellence?
I got one.
I have a feeling there's going to be a few Homer ones today.
New York Giants, baby. Oh,
I'll take the other one. Aaron Judge is the new American League record holder for home runs.
I believe
Number
you meant to
62.
say MLB.
Nope, he didn't.
No, he's not.
He very much is not.
If Tim Kirkhan doesn't think he is, then that's good enough for me.
All right, we got two out of the way. Who's up next?
Oh, mine to the Philadelphia Phillies for beating the St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card round.
Cheers to you, Kyle. Good win.
Thank you.
I have one. It's not. I don't know how recent it is, but I just saw it recently. Have you seen the new State Farm commercial that features Andy Reid on the plane?
Yes.
I enjoy that very much. It's just so stupid. Him drawing mustaches on people on the plane, and Mahomes comes out. It's like, oh,
Fuck.
coach, it happened again. Made me laugh.
Well,
Let's see. Well, all my teams suck. So, I don't know.
Talk to Davis Mills.
I don't know. I mean, I guess to the Phillies for not being a 500 team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride the mock train here pretty hard. To the Jimmy Garoppolo doing pretty good, and to Baker Mayfield for being washed.
Thanks, man.
We got
Yeah,
you. guys.
Baker Mayfield's pretty terrible.
He is awful.
Not playing well.
Jimmy G's winning games.
Let's see. I saved something. Oh, this was what it was. It's to Nick Castellanos.
He sucks.
Have you seen his thing though?
No.
So he's like the cursed player. Or he causes like curses wherever he goes.
What'd he do?
The stupid video's not loading for some reason.
I know he bought Ben Simmons' house.
That's
Really?
not right. All right. So Nick Castellanos, every time like the Reds like announce team is in the middle of like announcing something that happened in the real world, he hits a home run. So like when Tom Brennan made like the Reds or the Fox Sports announcer made like a homophobic comment during a national like television game and basically resigned mid game, like Nick Castellanos hit a home run. He hit a home run on 9/11. He hit a home run when they announced Queen Elizabeth's death. He hit a home run when they were doing a eulogy for like one of the greatest Reds of all time. He hit a home run when they were doing a eulogy for a Cincinnati war hero.
Castellanos curse.
He hit a home run. He hit a home run when they announced the extent of Fernando Tatis's preseason injury.
Hey, guy thrives on bad news.
That's what I'm saying. Good for him. And then I think I had another one. I always save these things, but then I can never remember what they are. Oh, for when and then the other one was when the Yankees clinched the AL East. Was a big fan of them doing the video in the locker room celebrating with all the champagne. And there's just a video of some player, and you can't see who it is, but he's pouring a full Budweiser down Nasty Nestor's.
Oh yeah.
Like he just pulls the back of his shorts out and then just pours a beer down it. And someone's like, "Who's doing that?"
I'll tell you, I do have another Yankees toast. If you're all done, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of picking the bottom of the barrel here because my homer things. Like, I mean, Justin Fields didn't throw a pick this week.
Hey, that's toast worthy.
Go ahead.
So mine is to the Yankees for finally realizing that Aroldis Chapman is a fucking waste of space in the MLB and leaving him off the playoff roster. Thank God.
Your bullpen's gonna be worse because of it.
Kyle, he's not good.
Brother,
He's
what
not
else you
good
got in
anymore.
there?
He's not good.
Brother, what else you got going on?
He just comes in, walks the bases loaded, and then gives up home runs.
I did enjoy how it was like
never pitched in the postseason.
it was like a mutual FU between the both parties.
Yeah.
Like
He like whatever. He missed the fucking workout after they told him if you don't go, you will be on the roster. Like, fuck him.
Well, so I heard what happened was, and this might be what you were saying. I came into the conversation late. He asked them, "Hey, can you guarantee me I'm going to play in the playoffs?" And they couldn't give him a straight answer, so he said, "Fuck you, then I'm not going," and then didn't go.
Good. He's not that good. I wish they traded him. And whatever, if he went somewhere else and pitched well, good for him. But fuck him.
I mean, technically they did trade him just years ago.
Thanks, man.
Your bullpen's gonna be your weak point.
Welcome, buddy.
I mean, here's the deal. If it is, it is. But it's not like he strengthened it. He blows almost every save he's fucking in. He's not good. If their bullpen's weak, it's weak. That's fine. Like him being gone doesn't make it weaker. And him being there doesn't make it better. He was literally like a complete non-factor.
Oh, so that's how you play this. Sorry.
Good.
Just learned something new.
Hey, Mark, how you feeling about those Giants?
I tell you what. I'm trying to.
No, you're not.
No. Honestly, because I know they have a weak schedule, right? I know that they're playing teams that are not great, but I am seeing a lot of things that I like that they're doing that they haven't done in years past. Like the play calling I think is light years better than it's been in the last 6 years. Guys, the offensive line is playing better than I've seen it in a long time. There's still work that needs to be done, but I mean they look like a decent football team. I still think the division is the Eagles to lose. But I don't think they're playing well. And I think that the comeback against the Packers I think is a huge win. Even though, the Packers aren't what they have been, but still.
They are who they thought they were. It would let them off the hook.
I think the Giants have been playing pretty decent football.
You know what's interesting? Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I was about to say, you got killed by Taysom Hill this week.
Oh, I got killed by everybody. And I had actually somewhat reminiscent of our trip to Pittsburgh. with Pittsburgh losing, the Mets being eliminated, and getting blown out in fantasy. It was almost like a parallel weekend.
Hit for the
Did you
cycle,
smoke-
huh?
Did you smoke a lot of cigarettes?
I was just gonna ask that.
No, I should have prepared ahead of time. But it,
Yeah, Mets blew that one, huh?
yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
go ahead, Kyle.
I didn't say nothing.
No, I'm hearing things. We don't have to talk about that unless you guys really want to. I figured Paul has kind of constructed, these NFL style questions, and it seemed like kind of a good segue from what we were talking Giants.
So real quick before anything else, did anybody else just hear Kendall have a stroke at the beginning of that sentence?
Yeah, I don't know why he's putting all this pressure on me.
No, not on you. I was going to mention something about the Giants, and then it came up about the Mets thing, and then I wanted
Well,
to
you're
see.
using me as a scapegoat to not have to talk about the Mets.
I'll be happy to talk about. I've had like this conversation in my head for like 18 hours, just like it was like talking to myself, like I like schizophrenia. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. In my opinion, it's a microcosm of what was going to happen anyway. You get swept by the Cubs. You had at one point a 10.5 game lead. You led the NL East for 174 of 180 days, and you blow it by getting swept by the Braves in the second to last series of the season. You needed to win one game to secure a spot, and you didn't. You lose the head-to-head matchup 10-9. You end up having the better record versus NL East teams by 2 games, and it doesn't matter because you couldn't take care of business when it mattered. And a team that was kind of beat up could really deserve the rest. Give it to the Braves, and the Braves don't blow those opportunities. The Mets did, and they deserved it. They were not prepared. The better team won in every capacity, and the Mets fans who are gonna whine and cry about like being robbed, you blew it. You absolutely blew it. You have 101 wins, which is they've done that 4 times in the history of the Mets. They've won 100 games, and all it is just going to be a statistic. They won. Hey, great season. You had 101 wins. Fantastic. Didn't matter. Waste. And to say that you didn't win the World Series is an overreaction. It's an unrealistic expectation. But to not advance one series in the playoffs with the roster that you touted is a waste. And now they have every month to sit and watch the players that they signed go play elsewhere, and just wasted everybody's time. So, thank you, New York Mets.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
And you guys say I punt on my team.
Yeah, but
I
the
mean,
Mets
he's 100% right.
fell apart.
He's
I-
100% right. But still.
it's funny because we talked about it on this, like when the Yankees had their collapse. It was what right after the All-Star break. It was like early August, right?
Mhm.
So like, I remember, it was starting to get to be where everyone's kind of like, this is what they're gonna be. But they had the time to kind of right the ship and keep going. It was a matter of timing with the Met. Like, it was the end of the year where they started and then it just rolled in. There wasn't enough time for them to right it in time to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, and the thing is, like,
It's
you have, and here's for me, like, I don't know what your guys' feelings on situations like this. I would rather have a healthy pitcher at not the same like class level of a Max Scherzer or Jacob deGrom go out there, rather than a Max Scherzer go out at 71% and then get hit around, and then the commentators and the sports analysts like, oh well, he was hurt. But that doesn't help anything. It doesn't mean anything. You lost. I don't care. Either show up with your best or don't show up, because it doesn't do any good to say something in hindsight. And I will never understand the notion, and this goes for all sports, that like, hey, he's a competitor. Credit. Good for you for standing tough and trying to push through. But when push comes to shove, and your back's against the wall, it doesn't do any good. Like these guys are supposed to be dominant, and Scherzer's getting old. DeGrom can't be dominant forever. I understand that, but big series before the playoffs, you needed one win, and top three guys, not one of them could get the job done. It's unacceptable.
I think you're right.
DeGrom pitched fine.
It was more of a commentary on Scherzer more so than DeGrom. I don't think he pitched that well, but pitched that bad. It was just for me, like, he was injured to start the year. He had a few good starts. The last 5 were really, they were kind of more pedestrian than not. And I understand. I'm a fan who understands. Like, you can't be good forever. You just can't. The bad starts are gonna happen. I understand that. But it seemed like as every start went along, the hits were increasing, the home runs were increasing. That statistic that they touted, DeGrom only has given up 1 earned run over X amount of starts. That number became 2. That number became 3, and it kind of compiled on itself very quickly. And then it's like, I don't know.
The Mets have this thing where they believe DeGrom should never have a bad start.
Right,
Hey, you guys keep going. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Mets fans have this pedigree that DeGrom's untouchable.
And that's a very unfair thing to put on a player, to put on the league. To have that notion. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever had that notion about him, that he has to go out and he's this amazing thing, blah blah blah. I was very unhappy with how this season went for him, and I just felt that wasn't doing the right things. You can't just be a 2-pitch pitcher. It doesn't work.
Especially as a starter.
Right. It's I don't care
Especially as a
how,
starter.
if you can really craft it and be good, that's fine. But Kyle will tell you, you guys will all tell you, hitters, this is Major League Baseball. They're going to figure you out. It might work for 3 starts, but it won't work for a whole season.
Well, the thing is that he went the last few starts. He had trouble commanding, and I don't know if that's just like not having enough reps. Because let's be honest, he only pitched like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah,
this year.
I want to say he had maybe 7 starts. I'd have to look it up, but maybe
pitchers don't really hit their stride until probably their 10th start on.
Yeah, it was too little, too late, and we have to remember too. It was 2013 where DeGrom kind of came in the league and hit probably success in 2014. Probably was that next year when things were kind of really coming together, and then after the World Series loss, there was a really great run that he went on, but had some injuries that kept him out. But I wonder if we've turned that corner. And there's some pitchers can reinvent themselves, but those guys like the Brian Wilsons of the world, the Tim Lincecums. I remember being in high school thinking that he was just going to be good forever because he was so dominant. And then you wake up one morning and he's not good anymore. And I don't know if maybe
I think that's unfair to say because DeGrom was still very good.
Well, I'm using it as an example. Like there's been tons of pitchers who had like we'll call it a 2 or 3 year span where they were like super dominant.
I do think DeGrom's done as a Met. He kind of came out and said it.
Well,
How can he be? Is he a free agent?
Yep.
It's one of those saying without saying it things. I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion, but I think I wouldn't be surprised.
In his interviews, they were just saying like, "Were you thinking about like how this could be your last start as a Met?" He came out and said, "Yeah, I thought about it."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something you say. I mean,
yeah, but Kyle, that to me doesn't mean he's saying he's done with the Met. I mean,
well, I
that's
think
just him being
Atlanta's
that's him being like a person. Like, yeah, of course I thought about it. Like, I'm a person, and this
also,
could be.
How are they gonna pay him?
Again, I'm not making a case of him I'm just saying like him saying, yeah, I thought about it. I don't think is an indication that hey, I'm done here.
Right.
That's the only point I'm at. I'm not. He very well may be, and maybe he is, but I don't think him saying, yeah, I thought that this could be my last start is him saying that.
Either way, it's a shame for everything to go the way it did, and I would be less upset if we're talking the next series we go on to play the Dodgers, and you get swept doing that. I just feel that everything that we had seen, they should have been able to, despite injury, despite everything that happened, they should have been able to walk away with at least one series victory to feel good about your year. And they didn't. They didn't. You get you get one hit in your final game at home, and get embarrassed. It's just disgraceful.
Christian Major is just bitch.
Yeah, well,
That guy literally had like 197 batting average and went off in the playoffs.
The bottom of the lineup for San Diego came alive, and it wasn't the big player. It wasn't the Machados, and it wasn't the Sotos that really killed it. I mean, they got theirs, but it was the bottom of the lineup guys who really did the damage that whole series. And
a lot of times you see stuff like that happen in the playoffs, where there's always, I mean, every year there's always just like some random fucking no-name guy that makes something happen. I mean, look, fucking Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone was not a good player. He came up. He wasn't.
What are you gonna say next? That Jacoby Ellsbury was a bust as a Yankee?
Yeah.
I mean,
But no, what I mean is like you. There's always a guy every year in the play, like some bottom of the lineup guy, and that makes headlines. It happens every year.
Yeah. I just wanted to say one last thing because I'm just getting infuriated and I'm dejected enough as it is about the Mets. I didn't hate, there was a lot of criticism for the Buck Showalter thing going, accusing Musgrove there. I don't think there was anything wrong with that. They checked him out and it turned out there was nothing there and it was over with. I thought that was a decent tactic because it did look odd. I'm not going to, from the beginning of the game started, like, why is his ears like that? I was, I didn't really think much of it.
What's the deal behind what happened there?
He came out and they wanted to check him for an illegal substance, and the umpires they did their whole thing, and they determined there was nothing wrong, and fine, I can live with it, but he was under fire for like, just because you're losing, why you're going and trying to cut
behind the ears and shit.
Yeah, like why are you trying to cut this guy down? To me, I thought it looked bizarre. It didn't look natural, but I'm not going to sit here like, oh, he cheated. I don't feel that way because they spent a lot of time checking him. I just I feel that Showalter did the right thing.
Did you see anything that would have led you to think he was?
His ears were just very shiny. It was very bizarre looking.
Gotcha.
It's a weird thing too. Like it's a weird dynamic now because if you're the manager coming out, you're almost admitting like, hey, this guy's really beating us. Like there's got to be something going on here. So it is like a weird thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Was it this year or last year when they had check Scherzer every inning for like 4 innings?
Yeah.
He like pulled his belt off.
That was against the Phillies.
Oh yeah. It was Gerard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It can be a tactic I think on either side. You want to kind of fuck with the pitcher just every time, be like, check him.
Because, Spider Tech's a real deal.
And it's funny just to compare, the MLB to men's league softball, where my uncle is pitching with a batter's glove on.
He's actually pitching better with a batting glove on.
And it's pretty funny. I was like, man, I wonder if that's even like allowed. But hey, no one said anything, so
Hey, there you go.
get out there. Get your glove, kid.
But that's it.
That's it.
As Forrest Gump says, that's all I'd like to say about that. All I have to say about that.
Well,
You
you're our
fucked
group's
it up.
Forrest Gump, so
Kendall.
Hey, that's a cop. That guy did a lot of stuff.
A lot of irrelevant stuff.
he goes, that guy did a lot of stuff.
I guess it's not wrong. I mean, he got AIDS, so good for you, I guess.
Dude was in there.
Yeah, I feel like they don't really cover that part of the story.
Guy was getting some strange.
They did. Did you ever see Philadelphia?
Kyle,
It-
good on you.
It's the spin-off.
It's a spin-off.
Kyle, fuck you so much for that.
Why? It worked.
That was so funny.
Which is weird that Tom Hanks happened to be in both of them. Okay.
So funny.
But yeah, hey.
Massey, have you ever seen Philadelphia?
What?
Have you ever seen Philadelphia?
Like the city?
No, the movie.
I've seen the city once. I was with you.
Have you
Yeah.
seen
It's
all?
a movie.
No, Kyle, I have not seen.
Have you seen All Dogs Go to Philadelphia?
Yes.
It's a good movie.
I watched the dog get shot in the first minutes.
Oh my!
Pretty much.
Didn't get shot. He got just.
You're a junkie stabbed him. I'm sorry.
It would be funny if they redid
parody.
Oliver and Company and made the dogs like really ghetto.
Man, Stan Helsing was a funny movie.
Kyle and I watched Stan Helsing. No exaggeration. Probably like 18 times.
I don't know what Stan Helsing is.
It's not a good movie at all. Keenan Thompson's in it, though.
I say it's actually a pretty bad movie.
Oh, it's like notably bad. Worth the watch.
It is worth it.
It's not worth it.
I fell into a burning lane of fire. Why are they looking at us like this?
Did you say a rain of fire?
That's it, ring. You ever see Reba?
Show? That's a good show.
You know the boyfriend in that movie, in that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Stan Helsing.
He's the main character.
That's very funny.
Can we move on from this?
Yeah. But Giants winning one across the pond. I listened to that game on AM radio.
Nice, Kendall. Nice.
Oh, yeah. And
That's nice.
The Colts Denver game was pretty fucking atrocious.
I don't like how you used. I don't like how you used one team's name and one team's city.
Yeah, it's what I do the best. Detroit got shut out. Pittsburgh is trash. And they attacked.
How about we just go a game at a time, Kyle?
Yeah, I got you. Chargers defense is very overrated.
Whose?
Chargers.
No, it's not.
They can't stop nobody. Trevor Lawrence let people down again against the Texans.
Kyle,
What?
we're going a game at a time, dude.
I like
Oh, my bad, yo.
he goes, I got you, and just continues what he's doing.
I was just talking shit about each game. I thought that's what you meant.
No. So we're gonna talk. We can talk. Well, Kendall will bring up a game. We can give points on it if we want. That's where Kyle can talk all the shit. And then, like, I'm gonna pose like a kind of like a question that either relates to both teams or individually for each team, and you guys can kind of discuss.
Yeah. So we'll hit the rewind button real quick, and we'll go Colts Broncos, the Thursday night game.
Okay, so does anyone have anything they want to say about it before we get into it, or do you want me to just pose the question?
I think you'd pose a question.
Okay. So my question for the my question for the game was, for the Colts, is what's a bigger panic move for the Colts this offseason? Addressing what they thought was a gold standard offensive line, or stopping the veteran quarterback carousel? And then on the Denver side of the ball, the question was going to be, is there any chance that the offense gets into any sort of rhythm throughout the course of the season, or is this going to be a quote-unquote 49ers type team that maybe makes the playoffs entirely ridden on its defense? And you guys can discuss.
I think for the Colts side, I think this veteran quarterback thing has to stop. I think they have to commit to, I guess we'll just call it, for the sake of argument, a rebuild. Draft somebody. I feel that Matt Ryan, the time has kind of passed him by. Sort of the way that Philip Rivers, he can still play, he still go out and win games, but I think the level is not the same. I think we're just, in general, you're gonna get the 148-yard days with hopefully a pair of touchdowns, and hopefully a running game is gonna carry you. And I don't know if that's really the winning method moving forward for that team.
Well, Matt Ryan's ship has sailed years before this year, so it was just kind of like a lateral move. I think Carson Wentz was the better quarterback for that team, so I think they have to address the quarterback situation.
Any other thoughts?
You guys don't all have to chime in if you don't want. It's just and you guys can bounce around. I know the quarterback question is, it seems obvious anytime you bring up a team that has an issue at quarterback. Quarterback always is the answer because it's the most important thing on the field. But Matt Ryan is a quarterback that has led the league in stats. Did he win an MVP?
I think so.
Yeah, the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so he won an MVP. He's taken it. He's been part of a team that's gone to a Super Bowl. So like he has like there's a pedigree there. The receiving core isn't as great as you'd like it to be, but it's decent. But this is an offensive line that not that long ago wasn't giving up any sacks and is now giving up 6 a game. And I understand Matt Ryan's not mobile, but they haven't really had a mobile quarterback ever. I mean, they've never had a mobile quarterback. So, Jacoby Brissett is the closest thing to a mobile quarterback they've ever had. And, they, like I said, just 2 years ago, the quarterback could take up to, I think it was like an 8-second average in the pocket without having to move to throw the ball. And Matt Ryan was sacked, 7 times against the Broncos? And that was without their all-star pass rusher and 2 injuries to other pass rushers during the game. And Matt Ryan's been laid out. Matt Ryan's, I think they said he was like the 3rd most sacked quarterback in the NFL going into that game.
Yeah.
And when you have a quarterback like Matt Ryan, if he's getting sacked, it's because the pocket's collapsing on him. It's not because he's holding on to the ball too long. He's a veteran that's played well. So, I'm not saying none of the sacks are his fault, but I would say less than 10%. So that's why I posed the offensive line part of the question.
Yeah.
Because when you have an offensive line as surefire as theirs was 2 years ago, everything else is easy. The quarterback's important, but the offensive line is 5 guys you got to get right.
Right.
And then to answer for the Denver Bronco question, I do think they're going to have to ride on their defense all year. Like, ever since Russell Wilson got hurt last year, he's never been the same quarterback. He struggled pretty much all year last year. And he brought it into this year. And he has not equal talent to we had in Seattle, except with a better running game.
I kind of agree. I think it would be the defense that gets the job done. I don't think Russell Wilson will be a scrub all year. I think they will kind of get on the same page, but it'll be, I think, a little too late. I think they'll be playing a lot of catch up, and if they make the playoffs, it'll be as the lowest seed, and thanks in part to the defense.
Not that it really makes a difference, but just because I'm curious, how late into the offseason was he traded to Denver?
Early.
Not that late. I can find that
Was
for
it?
you.
I don't remember when it happened.
Was it before or after the draft?
I believe it was before.
So then,
No, it was after. Hold on.
Hey, can I get a Broncos country let's ride real quick?
March 16, 2020. Two.
So I mean, the point I was going to make is that like he had enough time, I think, with the team to like come in and learn the offense. Play, he's a veteran guy. He knows what the hell he's doing. I think it's just taking way longer for everything to kind of fucking click than we all. I don't like. I was even on the assumption that he was going to go in and play very well in Denver, and he's not. I'm hoping just I like Russell Wilson. I'm hoping it changes and he can kind of turn it around, but it's not looking good.
Yeah,
I mean, like there's definitely like the whole speculation of, like the offensive line's been bad. The weapons are a downgrade. The head coach looks like he's already bust potential, but Russell Wilson's making egregious mistakes. Like
they showed it. He had who was it? Hamler there.
Both
that fourth and goal play.
Well, and both picks he threw were terrible picks in that game.
Yeah,
I very rarely watch the Thursday night games because I'm usually so tired from getting up early that day. But I happened to watch that one. I just remember saying to myself every single the Colts. There's no way the Colts deserve to lose this game. Like the Broncos are so bad. Like the defense is playing good, but man, is it bad.
It's just I don't know. Like I think it's just a team, and maybe it'll take the whole year, and maybe next year it'll gel. But they're just they look like a team that no one's on the same page.
Oh yeah, everything's out of sorts offensively.
No one's on the same page, and I still think they have talent. Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are good receivers. Maybe it's a downgrade from Lockett and Metcalf, but maybe not. I mean, it could really go either way.
Yeah.
It's just that the team, they just gotta figure out whatever needs to click and make it click. It's easy for us to say, but I think eventually he'll be all right there.
All right. Does anybody have anything else?
No, not for that game.
Okay, so what's the next game there, Reader?
Giants and Packers in London.
All right. Just give me 1 second. Mark, go ahead and you can gloat about your team for a second.
Well, here's the thing, right? I said before, I've been trying to stay within reason with the Giants because I know what they've done to me in the past. But they're a team that's playing way different than they have. They were down, pretty big. I mean, it was 2 scores, and were able to make it happen in the second half, which we haven't seen them do in years. And even once they took the lead, I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers, who is just like the Hail Mary fucking king, and on 2 drives they were able to stop him from scoring. Granted, once at the goal line, and the other time, they only had I think like 5 seconds or something. But again,
did you hold your breath when Barkley got hurt?
so here's the thing. I only was able to watch like the last couple minutes because we had a softball game, and I was listening to it and whatnot, and then I saw on my phone he got hurt, and I was like, fuck. And I saw it was a shoulder, and I was like, God damn, that's something new. But then when I checked again, he scored a touchdown. So I was like, all right, it obviously couldn't have been
that bad.
too bad. But of course, with anyone, especially Barkley, who right now is, he's the heart and soul of the Giants. Not only the offense, but the team. He's everything, especially with the wide receiver room being the way it is. There's next to nothing as far as receivers. Tony, which Darius Tony, I'm so tired of him. Same Kenny Galladay. Two guys that were supposed to be big deals for New York have done nothing and are just hurt.
Slayton had a good game.
Slayton showed up. I give a lot of credit to Slayton because he started the year. They didn't even know if he was going to make the roster, and then he takes the pay cut to stay in New York. He I don't even think gets a target the first couple of weeks, and when they needed him to step up, he stepped up. It's one of those things. You kind of hope the coaching staff doesn't forget it because he kind of got shit on for a few weeks, and still went out and played like team first football. And you don't a lot of times, especially receivers, you don't always see that. I hope that the receiving room can get freaking healthy just to at least be on the field. Kenny Galladay isn't, what we thought he was, but yeah, at least want him on the field. Same with Tony. Tony, hurts one hamstring, is out, healing. Oh, and now he hurts the other one, misses another, and then like is talking shit to people that are breaking his balls about being a fucking injury-prone guy. You are what you are. This is your second year in the league. You've only played 6 or 7 games. Say what you want. You're an injury guy. Fucking do what you have to do to fix it. Don't argue with fans on Twitter because they're mad that you're hurt. You're fucking hurt. Get over it.
Bitch.
They got fucking Wendell Robinson, who hopefully is back soon. But again, played a one touch, hurt. The wide receiver room is in bad.
You have that white guy. I don't know who he is, but you have that one white guy.
Then the Giants are in trouble. But right now they're playing good foot. The defense is playing pretty well. I see a lot of stuff online that they're like a bad 4-1 team, and maybe they are, but hey, they're fucking 4-1. Like, it is what it is.
I said that 2 years ago.
It's definitely a fun change of pace to watch compared to the miserable Sundays I used to have watching Giants football.
I said that 2 years ago when the Steelers were undefeated. He was shit on me for it.
And fuck the Packers, so take that.
Yeah, I do agree with that last point.
Yeah, it'd be funny if I was disconnected, right?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, God. Mock's just ignoring me then.
Hello?
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 What's going on here?
Can you not hear us?
Oh, I can hear him. I can hear everybody.
We can all hear him. He can't hear us.
All right, quick mic checks. I can hear Massey.
Paul?
I can hear everybody.
I can hear everyone.
Including us.
Can Kyle hear me?
Paul?
Yep.
I no longer hear Mock, and he texted us.
All right. Well, Mock gave us his feelings on the Giants.
So
Anybody else?
the questions for the two teams are going to be: do we think that this is the actual beginning of the? Do we think this is the actual beginning of the real where's Aaron Rodgers going this offseason saga, or is he just a Packer for life? And for the Giants, it's looking at the remainder of their schedule. The Giants have very easy games, including 2 games against the Commanders. They still get to play the Jaguars, the Seahawks, the Lions, like a bunch of not great teams. So that, we're looking at their schedule, and I think that there's, like, based on their performance so far, there's legit potential for them to win 11 games this season. Usually when you're like, a last place team or a third place team, you have an easier schedule, but you're playing teams kind of at your same. All the teams they're playing that were bad last year have kind of taken a step back, and they took the step up. So are the Giants? Is this good season? Barring the exception of it ending in a Super Bowl, because obviously if it ends in a Super Bowl, who gives a shit? But if this ends up being like making the playoffs as a wild card and getting bounced in the first week, is this hurting the Giants from the aspect of Daniel Jones not being their quarterback moving forward? Because I feel like he's the only one kind of not proving that he's the reason they're winning games. That makes sense. He's been playing okay. I'm not saying anything like I'm not saying he's terrible, but it's not like he's not doing anything, in my opinion, that's saying like, oh, Daniel Jones is showing the league why he's going to be the Giants quarterback.
So I'm looking at Daniel Jones, and I do kind of agree with you, Paul. He's not doing anything to set the stat book or anything on fire. But I do look at he's playing. I think he's playing how he was expected to play 2 years ago. The turnovers are down. He's playing just smarter football. So I mean, I think if he keeps up how he's playing, he's going to stay on the Giants. The Giants will keep him around. Maybe like bring in someone almost like what they did with Taylor, but to kind of push him. But I think if he keeps playing the way he is, he's going to be the Giants quarterback next year, and for the next few years.
So if the Giants go out and win 10 games this season, like, you think that Daniel Jones just gets the big contract extension, or gets a new? I guess it's not an extension anymore. It would just be a contract. He would get like a Hello?
He may have got caught off. He's connected, but I'm not hearing him.
Who?
Mock is. He's still connected, but I'm not sure.
Right, well, why don't you guys just go ahead and if you guys have any interest to either of the questions.
I have I think as of right now, Giants are playing good football, and I saw a statistic that Daniel Jones is responsible for three game winning drives this season. So
I don't know what's going on with my thing.
So I think there is a recipe that's working there. I have this fear or thought or whatever that the Giants will find themselves kind of in a no man's land situation where they're playing well right now, but will it be sustainable during later part of the year? And then they get in a situation where what Paul is sort of alluding to, that all right, well, now we're in a tough spot where we have this middle of the road draft pick. Do we wait quarterback, or do we just stick with Jones? Because right now it's green lights for Jones. He's playing well. I
look at it as if he stays the way he is, I think he's the quarterback at least for the next 2 years.
And
would you be happy with that though?
If he's playing the way he is, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, he
My well,
Go ahead.
so my question for that, like to piggyback off that, would be, and I'm not doing this to stir up controversy. I'm saying
Yep.
like where's the difference in that than like from like the Garoppolo type of argument? Because Daniel Jones isn't the reason. I mean, the Bears game, his 2 rushing touchdowns, those were like those were great, but really it was the Giants defense that won the game. It's like so like if he's just doing enough and kind of getting wins because Saquon Barkley's going off and the defense is playing really well. So like are you happy in investing, the next 5 years of your franchise into a quarterback that, just kind of does that? Or like an Alex Smith towards the end of his career. He doesn't turn the ball over, but he's not going to win you the game.
So, especially after how I've watched him play, if he doesn't turn the ball over, he's winning me the game. But I do see what you're saying. I don't know. I mean, I think that the way that he's able to play, especially running the ball, is valuable, especially for how the Giants' offense runs now. It just comes down to he's got to stay away from the turnovers. That was always his biggest Achilles heel, was he would just give the ball up, 3 fucking times a game. And at least, so far this year he's not doing that. I think if they do invest in him further, it'll be, like I said, like 2 years, and then maybe at the end of that they go longer. But I don't think even if they win, say 12 games this year, just throwing like a high number out there, I don't think he's going to get like the 6 or 7 year quarterback deal that Russell Wilson just got or whatever. I think he's still going to have to earn it beyond just one so far good season.
So I got a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
So say if the Giants do win 11 games, right? And Daniel Jones kind of stalls his way at the end. And you guys have let's say high teens, low 20s pick, right? Do you take that draft pick and use a quarterback? Or do you go after Jimmy G because he's more than likely done in San Francisco after this year?
So I'll be honest. I mean, I have no idea about anything with the quarterback class coming out and what it's going to look like.
Very, 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 very good.
But even still, I mean, if you're talking, they're in the late teens, early 20s. Like, if it's a good quarterback, they're all gone by 5. You know what I mean? So that's what I was saying before. Like, I think if they have that mid-teen pick or late teen, and a guy falls that they like, I think that they'll go for it, and maybe he sits for a year, and they can go that route. I really think if they extend Jones at all, it'll only be 2 at most 3 year, but I think it'll be like a 2-year deal.
Because I was posing the question more so from the standpoint of I'm looking at the schedule here. So they have games that they most likely could win. They got I think that they'd be considered the favorites. You got the Jaguars, the Seahawks, the Texans, the Lions, and then you got 2 games against the Commanders. And then kind of on the fence games would be the Colts. And then tough games, people may or may not expect them to, not you specifically, but people may expect them to lose would be the Ravens, the Cowboys, and both games against the Eagles and the Vikings, per se.
Yep.
I know, So my question more so came from the standpoint of coming down the stretch. Let's just say you guys go by what the script says you should go. You're 4-1. You're 4-2 after the Ravens, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2. 8-2, 8-3 against the Cowboys, 9-3, and now you're going into the last stretch: Eagles, Commanders, Vikings, Giants, Eagles, Commanders, Vikings, Colts, Eagles. you would realistically probably need to win 2 or 3 of the weeks to secure that wild card spot. So my question would be like, because I could very well see it boiling down to this: the Giants go in, they drop both to the Eagles, the one to the Vikings, they beat the Commanders, and then maybe they lose to the Colts, and then they end up finishing the season 10-7, miss the playoffs, and now you have like the worst non-playoff draft pick you can, and like then you like, well, what do we do about Daniel Jones? Because like even if he's not making the mistakes and stuff, he still didn't do enough to get us to the playoffs. I know there's other things that go into it, with what happened with the defense, injuries, Saquon, et cetera, but all those questions are kind of, they don't really matter as much as what are you doing about Daniel Jones?
I see what you're saying.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
and 10 wins could be enough. I mean, the Cowboys are playing well. The defense is the real deal. You figure they'll make a playoff spot. You figure the Eagles will make it. The Bucks will most likely make it. You'll have San Fran. You'll have the Vikings, and then you can't, and then so like that kind of leaves and I'm just saying that because like I haven't seen anything spectacular from the Rams yet, but I refuse to believe the Rams can't turn it around. You can't count out Aaron Rodgers, so it's like the NFC is still loaded.
Yeah, of course.
So like that's my question more so. It's like, what if it comes down to it, where it's like last game of the season against the Eagles, you miss the playoffs, you end up having, whatever it would end up being, the 22nd pick. Let's say Daniel Jones, lays an egg the last 3 games of the season or something, or whatever. Like when it comes time for him to put, like like do you think there's a potential to look back at this season and be like, man, the Giants won 10 games, but like at what cost? Because then now you're looking at giving up a lot of assets to move up to get one of these quarterbacks, or you gamble on Daniel Jones and it doesn't work out, or type of thing. So like that's more so like, do you think there's the potential to be like, hey, the Giants season was cool, but it really kind of sucked?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think if the case like that happen again, I think they'll let it ride. With Jones, I mean, of course, barring something happening, that whether someone falls in the draft or whatnot. But I think that they would try and run it back with him and take that route.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question, I don't think they try and bring in Garoppolo, and it's mostly because the way the Giants' offense runs now, he doesn't fit it. The Giants, I mean, you could just tell by how many design runs they have for Jones, and Dable came from coaching Josh Allen, who could like. I just don't think Garoppolo fits the offense Dable wants to run. So I don't know if that would really be an option, but if it's at the point where they're kind of the similar guy, I mean, why change it just to change it?
Okay, somebody somebody take a stab at the Packers question, just to reiterate. Do you think this, the way their season's going, and with the comments about wide receiver growth kind of determining if Aaron Rodgers stays or not, nobody buys into that anymore because he said he was going to leave 3 times and hasn't. But do you think that this is like the beginning of the actual seeing Aaron Rodgers in a different jersey, or do you think he's just a Packer for life? Because I think if he stays a Packer after this season, barring it continues the way it looks like it's going to go, then he's never going to leave.
I think he's the next quarterback of the Colts. Just gonna bring in another old guy.
So I think
there after watching the season that they've had, giving up the most sacks in the NFL so far.
I was saying that being funny. I don't at this point he's not leaving the Packers. Whenever he does, it's going to be to retire. I mean, it's the same song and dance every season with him.
I think the Packers make a move at receiver, even if it's like a Tyler Lockett or bringing in Odell Beckham. I think they're going to do something to bolster the offense to make him happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I also feel like the Packers.
They haven't done that in his whole career. Why do it now?
They gotta do something. Not working.
Yeah, I mean, I get that argument, Kyle, just from the standpoint, Mock, of like, they haven't done it in his whole career, but he's still, the record they have by week 5 is all they needed to seal the NFC North. And now it's looking like they're in contention for finishing in second place, like by a lot. My other thing too is I was just like, I think the big thing with the Packers is that they need that offensive stuff, but their defense hasn't really looked good either. I mean, like they haven't, like they held the Bucks to 12 points, but that was in a game where Cole Beasley was the number 1 receiver, and I mean, like they held the Bears to 10 points, but it's the fucking Bears. But then like the Patriots, they almost blew it. They blew it against the Giants. They got, the Vikings handled them very well. Nobody's putting up, it's kind of going unnoticed in my opinion, because nobody's putting up 30 spots on them and racking up, fucking 600 yards. But Justin Jefferson torched them for fucking 1 billion yards.
Does that to a lot of teams.
The run defense has been abysmal, which is something they've been priding themselves on. I mean, I'd have to look up their stat. I don't know where they are in terms of like getting to the quarterback and stuff, but it doesn't, I don't see the normal things you normally expect to see. So it's like, bringing in that offensive weapon might be good, but then, you're setting yourself up for shootout situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their defense is struggling too because they're just on the. I mean, think about it. They're on the field more this year than probably any other Aaron Rodgers led offense. Like normally, they dominate time of possession the whole time, and they're not able to do that this year. The defense is just on the field way more than they have been, like ever.
Yeah. All right, what's the next game we're gonna work through some of these games.
Buffalo, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. So from the Buffalo standpoint, the what was the question again? Sorry, I'm pulling up my notes here. Okay, from the Buffalo standpoint, Buffalo's so Buffalo's coming in at 4-1 now. They're 4-1 on the season, and they were kind of geared up as like the juggernaut Super Bowl favorites. It is through 5 games. Do we consider that to be, kind of like overrated, from the standpoint of, they were barely able to beat the Ravens, who haven't really been playing that great of football all year. Lamar Jackson's been playing out of his mind, but the other 52 guys have kind of been average. They lost to the Dolphins. They destroyed Pittsburgh and Tennessee, but 2 teams that, Pittsburgh's not playing well and Tennessee has taken huge steps back. Other than the game against the Rams, it's the Bills should be putting up these points. Do you think it's an overrated? That are they overrated? That's, I guess, basically what I'm saying. And for the Steelers, it's the question comes down to, are the Pittsburgh Steelers in trouble defensively in terms of these star players that they have? Because while TJ Watt is, a perennial force and demands a lot of attention, he's just one guy. And without him, it seems like the 11 people on the field don't know how to play football.
Yeah.
So, and so I say, like, the Minka Fitzpatricks, the Miles Jacks, those types of players, like, is Pittsburgh going to be in trouble, over the next however long, because, they have these big players on defense that are either making good money or are going to demand good money, and they deserve the money, but when TJ Watt's not on the field, it's like they're, the fucking Texans.
Well, when it comes to the Steelers with that, they don't get any pressure without TJ Watt. Like, you got Cameron Hayward, who's the only one that can actually make a fucking play in the defensive line. They refuse.
That poses into the problem.
No, I know. That's what I'm getting at. So, like, they refuse to address that the last couple of years. Because now that they're having, like, backups for the Chris Wormley, who was trash with the Ravens, Tyson Algalu was not the same person after the knee injury. They need to bulk up the defensive line in the draft. They need to get guys. They haven't drafted any of them. They haven't drafted corners. They didn't even draft offensive line. They draft receivers and skill position players. They're not doing a good job drafting lately.
And
Devin Bush is trash.
You can't, excuse me, you can't claim to have the like a top defense if when your star goes out, everything else falls apart. It doesn't work. I think drafting is an issue, and kind of use sort of the Packers argument. I think the defense is on the field a lot, and I think they're tired, so that plays into it a little bit. But it's just it. Like, if your top guy goes down and your defense crumbles, then you don't have a top defense. There's no way, unless these other stars, quote stars, step up, then it's not a top defense. It's just a defense.
Well, there's only so much a safety can do.
Well, right, but just in general, like the Cam Haywards, the Miles Jacks, those guys have to pay higher dividends than they had.
Yeah, but that's not. But when Cam Hayward's being triple teamed, there's nothing he can do.
Right, I'm using him as an example because
I know.
You figure that he's sort of the next guy in line when Watt is out. So, sort of, you know what I mean? It's like it's a different position,
it's Alex
but
Highsmith that has to step up.
Right.
And he had not done that.
And I think Buffalo is not overrated. I think they should have.
People are gonna have bad games.
Yeah, I think the game versus the Dolphins should have been different. I was kind of surprised how that played out, but I think they have played to expectation.
Anyone want to say anything else before I tell everyone that LaMelo got an ankle injury in preseason?
Kristaps.
Yeah, but Kristaps is always injured. All right. So what's the next game?
Chargers Browns.
Chargers Browns. Okay. Okay. So for the Chargers, it's what was the one ahead for the Chargers?
Same thing. Defense has been bad since Joey Bosa has been out.
Well, but the difference is that the Chargers defense is they're still generating sacks and stuff. Like they're just giving up big chunk plays, type of thing. Whereas like for the Steelers, like when TJ Watt's not out, when TJ Watt's not playing, they get no sacks, they get no turnovers, and one guy can't be that detrimental to a team. Otherwise, like Kendall said, you can't have a good team if one guy is everything. Okay, so Chargers Browns. Do you so for the Browns is once Deshaun Watson becomes available for the Browns, do you think that Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper are going to have the ability to be a top 3 quarterback wide receiver tandem in the NFL? And for the Chargers, it's should the Chargers consider hold on, I didn't look up this guy's age.
He's 32.
Do you guys because of money and injury, do you think it's time for the Chargers to consider options in removing Keenan Allen from the roster and making Mike Williams the man.
I guess we'll jump into Cleveland real quick. My concern would be, I think Watson would be available week 10. Is that correct?
Week 11. I
11.
Week 11. By the time, kind of get in and participate in real game speed, regardless, he's a professional quarterback. He's done it before. He's missed some time. I just don't see it materializing for this season. That Watson Cooper connection being a top at this point.
Okay. Massey,
I mean,
you gonna chime in on any of these, my guy?
Most of the stuff that I was going to say have been said, but the only thing that really makes sense here is availability more than anything. Williams is in a contract year, and he's very soon going to cost just as much, if not more, than Allen. So monetary side doesn't come into it. Availability wise, yeah, I mean, Williams has been there and he's produced in the years that Herbert has been there, so I say sure. I mean, if Allen will come back at a cheaper deal, I don't see why you wouldn't try and keep them both. But if the option is between the two of them, yeah, I guess I would.
From the cheaper deal segment, I was thinking of that, but I kind of take the cheaper deal or like the pay cut type thing off the table, just from the standpoint of that when Keenan Allen plays, Mike Williams is kind of just obsolete. Like Herbert just kind of forgets he's even on the team.
Yes.
And then when Allen's not there, Mike Williams has no problem putting up fucking, triple digit receiving yards on 8 receptions. Or if he doesn't do that, he's finding the end zone at least once. So like the talent's there, but it's like almost like he's invisible when Allen's there. So it's like from the standpoint of like, should the Chargers just go on the Mike Williams train and get what they can for Keenan Allen?
How many years does Allen have left on his deal? Do you know?
I do not know. I can look it up real quick.
It's just tough that Allen's been just had these nagging injuries that it's eaten up at least like 3 or 4 games out of his year.
Well, the thing is like that's the problem is they're not. So Keenan Allen, there's a potential out in 2024, but he's under contract till 2025.
You know what his cap hit for the next 2 years is?
16.5 for this year, 15.5 for next year, and then in 2024 it would be 18 mil, and if they were to cut him or trade him or whatever, it would be 2.7 mil in dead cap.
I mean,
So
yeah, I would see what you can get for Allen at this point. The year to do that would have been last year, but
yeah, I mean, like what Kendall said with the nagging injury, it's more annoying because it's from the standpoint of like he's not getting like these bigger injuries that can fully heal. It's just every year he's got 17 lingering problems that cause him to randomly miss a game, and so there's no reliability. And like without him, they were able to beat the Browns even if it was barely. But, if that game was against the Chiefs, that would be all the difference in the world. On to the next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bears Vikings.
Bears Vikings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for Bears Vikings, 5 games into the season, the Vikings I think are where everyone thought they should be, 5-1 or 4-1. The Bears, I think, I would say maybe surprised people at 2-3. They probably should be 1-4. But given the nature of how close the game was and the Chicago Bears' ability to come back from being down 21-3, do you Do you think the final outcome, all things considered, that happened throughout the game, do you think it's a testament more to the fact that the Vikings are still just the Vikings and really aren't as much are really not a threat, or the Bears are actually managing to progress as a team?
I say why not both?
Huh?
I say why not both?
That's fair.
I was thinking the same. I mean, the Bears to me were another team where like it was another regime change, and it may just take some time. And watching Fields, like I think he can be good, and just kind of polish things up. And the Vikings smear the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I think, is just a very whatever quarterback. You know, he'll put up some decent numbers, but I don't know. Like he's not a guy I think any team is like game planning against. Um, he just happens to be there.
He does enough to not lose games.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know. I never really was one to care for Kirk Cousins, but it is what it is.
He's kind of picking up from last year. Just solid play, not super flashy. Completing a lot of passes for we'll call it on an average 220 yards, and they win the game. It's kind of just business as usual.
You got to bump that average up about 60 to 80 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
he can't average 220 when Justin Jefferson averages 180.
Oh, no, Jefferson throwing himself.
Yeah.
Just like those fantasy football commercials.
Those were the best, weren't they?
Kirk Cousins is a free agent after this year.
Sure.
Maybe.
Next year.
Next year? Just thinking in my head about something.
You want him in Pitt?
No, Garoppolo to the Vikings.
I was thinking of all these Garoppolo scenarios for other teams.
He's got to start some.
Next game?
Lions Patriots.
Yikes.
Okay.
Kyle, he's done after next year. His cap hit next year is holy shit, $36 million.
Yeah, Garoppolo's gonna be a Viking next year.
Kyle, they eat all of that plus $12 million if they cut him next year.
Trade him to the 49ers for Garoppolo.
All right. For the Patriots, the question comes into having a new, basically, generation of talent coming into the NFL, one that's not like the players of the 2000s and whatnot, the millennials. Is the key for the Patriots to just move on from the Belichick era and let him take all of his coaching woes of Patricia's and such with him? Or do you think that given a little bit more time, we can see them flourish again? And then for the Detroit Lions, I think the question is very simple. What's the real biggest need for this team to finally take the next step in its what seems like forever rebuild? And I ask that question from the standpoint of, yes, Jared Goff is Jared Goff, but Jared Goff hasn't been playing particularly bad this season, and they're still not winning games.
Yeah, but that's not the quarterback.
The defense is atrocious. The run game has been really good, but there's been costly mistakes. The receivers are all decent, but no one's great. So like what's the first step they really need to take as a franchise to really move in a direction to actually make this rebuild start?
For the Lions, and just my personal opinion, I think they need to make a big signing. One guy to solidify, hey, it's worth coming here. If that makes any sense.
Honestly, Kyle, I'm surprised you didn't say it, but Garoppolo would probably be a good fit for them.
With the Lions?
Yeah.
Is
If I see the line drafting like Bryce Young or something,
the Lions better fucking hope that they don't get that high of a draft pick, otherwise they're going to be firing Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell's fault. First of all,
'Cause,
it's
I mean,
his second year in. They're gonna fire him.
Hey, just so you know, sometimes coaches get fired in their second year,
Sometimes
Yeah,
they
but-
get fired in their first year.
like
But,
the
yeah.
last 3 Giants coaches.
Yeah, but this
Did
is
they
like-
really? I thought Judge made at least 3.
Judge, I think, was in his second. Shermer was. I think they were all in their second.
Yeah, but
Kyle,
Dan Campbell-
I'm being funny. I know what you're saying, but I don't think it's Campbell's fault either. But I mean, they have Goff as their quarterback, who they didn't want Goff. You know, it's just that's what they had to do to trade Stafford. It's Goff was never like the Detroit guy. If they draft a kid, that's fine. But I mean, you were talking about before, Garoppolo may be a good fit there.
Lions have a ton of talent at receiver.
I-
But they still don't have Jameson Williamson yet.
I think the offense is fine. I think there was
Yeah.
injuries coming into this game versus New England, and they just they got shut out. I think Paul's right that the defense is atrocious, and they give up a lot of points in a hurry. I think
Sign somebody in the defense that that's gonna make an impact to prove to other players, hey, sign here, it's worth it.
yeah.
I don't have a name off the top of my head, but
As far as New England goes, I don't really know what Belichick's end goal is. I mean, it's sort of like the Brady thing to a certain degree. It's like, how much more do you have to do? I mean, is the desire that great to want to keep coaching, or I don't even know what his next desire would be. I don't know if he has a GM desire, if he wants to just be retired, if he wants to get into television. I don't really know what his end goal is. I don't know what his story is. But there is a disconnect. He's kind of like this old curmudgeon. Doesn't really relate to the players. I don't know.
Hey, when did Patricia start calling offensive plays?
Almost at the beginning of his tenure.
Wasn't he their defensive coordinator?
He was. And then he got fired, or left for Detroit, and then he came back.
But I mean, how? I mean, I may be kind of wrong, but like, how often do we see that happen where a defensive corner or like comes back and is then on the opposite end of the ball's coaching staff?
Not often. And I think the only reason it did happen is because he had the head coaching experience to have kind of his foot in both sides of the
Well, no,
ball.
the reason it happened is because they replaced Matt Patricia with a defensive coordinator that they liked, and then they lost Josh McDaniel when he became available.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, when Daniel going like, well, here's another guy who has head coaching type experience, just flip over here.
what an overrated fucking coach, Josh McDaniel.
All right, next game.
Seahawks Saints.
All right, Seahawks Saints. Okay.
Two of the weirdest teams in the NFL.
So for the New Orleans Saints, are we seeing? Are we ever going to see an actual franchise quarterback in the New Orleans Saints organization as long as Taysom Hill is part of the franchise? And to piggyback off of that, the more that Taysom Hill continues to be involved, will it hurt production, and growth for receivers like Olave, who's, already starting to show signs of being a breakout receiver? but is essentially a non-factor if Taysom Hill's on the field. For the Seahawks, in your opinions, is there, regardless of where the Seahawks finish in the season, is there any chance Geno Smith is playing his way into the starting job?
Yeah, 100%.
For the foreseeable future, and the Seahawks go elsewhere with that what will potentially be top 10 draft pick.
100%. If he continues to play this well through the rest of the season, they'll give him another year.
But I'm saying, like, do you think he plays well enough where they don't even they don't even draft a quarterback in this draft? They kind of give him the keys for, like what Mock said with the Daniel Jones, like 2 to 3 years, and they address quarterback in a different draft.
Depends who falls.
Huh?
Depends who falls. Like, if for whatever reason one of the top quarterbacks slides and gets to...
Well, they have 2 first-round picks this year, right?
Right.
So realistically, you can kind of also argue against that. It doesn't matter who falls because they have the firepower to get whoever they want, pretty much anywhere they want.
If he continues playing well, I think that they draft where they are or they trade back.
Okay.
I don't think that they target quarterback with one of those unless whichever one is the higher pick, somebody slides and it's decently far away. Otherwise, I if he continues to play this well all year, I think that they look to quarterback in another draft most likely.
Also, it's the fucking Seahawks. You never know what the fuck they're gonna do. Go draft some random dude out of Middle Tennessee.
Does anybody want to chime in on Saints?
Couldn't tell you.
Taysom Hill, he's a crutch. He's a crutch. It's working. They score points with him doing it, but he's a guy in the the back end of his 30s. Well, you know what I mean. He's not young. He's not going to be a quarterback. He's just going to be whatever this is, and he's kind of taking opportunities away from. It sort of worked with Drew Brees because Drew Brees was at the end of his career and still effective to a certain degree. So it was kind of a good thing to sprinkle in, but without like a definitive quarterback, with the future, like Dalton's been fine, Jameis has been fine, but they're not like the quarterbacks of the future. These are kind of stopgap guys, and they're just kind of like they're digging themselves into this hole where they're gonna come to a point like, hey, we'll have a brand new quarterback. And all these receivers will have, no experience because Taysom Hill has taken all the snaps.
Yeah, I just think, like, from the standpoint of, like, bringing a rookie quarterback in, you're kind of hurting his development by not letting him be the every play guy. And what veteran's going to want to go in there to be benched, 20% of the time for a tight end? And when I say veteran, I don't mean veteran like Matt Ryan or something like that. I mean veteran like, somebody that, still has something in the tank that might be looking to go somewhere.
I think if Taysom Hill was like, if this was his second year, I would say New Orleans, lean into this as much as you can. But I just don't see this production being there 2 years from now. Or even, even next year. He gets hurt in a significant way. No shot he continues.
All right, next game.
Dolphins Jets.
Okay. All right. So, this one's actually pretty simple. Is Tua that good that the Dolphins are, hurting this bad without him? Or are the Dolphins just not as good as they appeared to be when the season started? And for the New York Jets, I think it's very simple. How far, in terms of, whatever measurement you want to give, whether it's seasons, games, whatever, how far ahead of schedule are the New York Jets in like where they want to be competitively in the AFC East?
I think the Jets are already there because they have very good young talent at the wide receiver position. Zach Wilson's looking a lot better than he did last year, which wasn't hard to do, but he's making that progression. and they have two really solid running backs with their offensive line playing good, and their defense is a little underrated. Quinn Williams is the real deal. I think the Jets are right where they need to be.
I wish I could
Was
say
he the guy that sneezed and then blessed himself and then
Yeah.
thanked himself?
Yes.
That was Quentin Williams.
awesome video.
It's an all-time video.
Bless you. Thank you.
I wish I could definitively say it's Tua, but we didn't get to see the full Bridgewater game. We got knocked out in the first series, so it's kind of like we'll never know if like a full week's practice if that offense jumps back. I would
No,
sort
I
of
understand that, but there was the reason I posed the question, and I was fully aware that the Dolphins were down to their third string quarterback, when that became a thing. But the question was posed more so from the standpoint of you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, two receivers that have the ability to get open, create separation, and make big plays. You have a decent mix in the backfield. You have a defense that people were very high on and coming into the season, and you have what a lot of people consider to be a very sleeperish type tight end in Gesicki. And even with a third string quarterback, I understand he's not going to go out and throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, but you have the offensive talent to create the separation and run the plays to get open enough for him. So that was more so where the question, I think, kind of became posed from my point of view.
So with everything you mentioned, I don't think it all is Tua. I think it's kind of like a perfect storm. I think perhaps if I'm answering the question the right way, maybe not as good as we expected. They just had a couple big wins.
So it makes them that much better. I think Tua is a very solid quarterback. Like, he wins football games. Like, he went on that incredible run last year. He was, 3-0 before he got hurt. I think Tua is good. People don't give him credit.
All right. Any other chime-ins on the Jets or the Dolphins?
Yeah, nothing.
I think the Jets are within 3 years of being a really, I don't know about like a Super Bowl contender, but I think they're going to be like a contending team on the AFC, in the AFC.
Okay. All right. Next game.
Falcons Buccaneers.
Okay. Falcons Buccaneers.
This game had one of the worst roughing the passer calls I think I've ever seen.
Chiefs game just had another pretty bad one.
Really?
Well, I mean, Massey, I know what play you're talking about, but
I know he landed on him. I know in their defense, it
like from a rule book standpoint, it was roughing the passer. I agree with you; it shouldn't be, because where else was he supposed to land?
not
But
only
from
that.
the rule book standpoint,
Not only that, he wasn't the ball carrier anymore.
what do you mean?
When Chris Jones hit him, he lost the ball and Chris Jones recovered it. He wasn't the passer anymore, so therefore it shouldn't be a foul per the
Yeah,
rules.
but that constitutes as a strip sack. So the play follows all the way through in the quarterback in the rule book. It doesn't matter if he has the ball or not.
Except for strip sacks, that's actually in the rules. Anyways,
I think it doesn't in the rules from the standpoint of, because it wasn't like he didn't strip the ball out. The ball came out in the process of being tackled.
anyways,
So,
I'll
like-
see if I can find the rule reference. Back to
So, like,
Falcons
do you understand what I'm saying, though?
yes, I do.
Like I just mean, like, it'd be different if it was like helmet to helmet versus like helmet to helmet on a sack. Like if he had stripped the ball out and then a player came in and hit him, versus like he was going down, like the sack and fumble were all happening at the same time.
I will see if I can find what I'm talking about. But anyways, Falcons and Bucks.
All right, so Falcons Bucks. At what point do the Falcons just give up on the season and bring in their rookie? I think that one's. And then from the Tampa Bay side, is what's holding Tampa Bay back from being that explosive team that we know them to be? Is it Tom? And don't give me it's all of it. Is it Tom Brady's age? Is it the age of the offensive weapons around? Or is it coaching?
I do think it's coaching. But even when Todd Bowles was in New York, they didn't really have a great offense. I don't think Brady's the problem. Their offensive line is really hurt. The receivers have been banged up all year. He just hasn't been able to get into a good flow yet. It will happen. Early season struggles. He's also going through a divorce.
I can agree. I don't think Todd Bowles is particularly good. He was a guy who he fell into it this time around. Like, he was hired outright in New York, but with the whole Bruce Arians thing, it's like, hey, Todd Bowles, how would you like to be the head coach of the Buccaneers? Yeah. Ooh, did we lose Mock?
Mock had cold again.
Damn it.
What happened?
Mock fell asleep in his chair.
One rogue snore came through.
It's me. I have like my mic right in my face because it's cutting in and out. I don't know what's going on with my internet.
And
Better internet.
Falcons are just, I don't know. Maybe
Falcons are playing with D-tier players, and they're still doing okay.
Yeah, they're not doing that bad.
I think they were on their way to beat the Bucks. They were going to come back, I think.
But at what point do they bring in the rookie? Because I will agree with you. I think they're playing better than people thought they would. But they're, through 5 games, there's nothing that's saying that they're going to be competitive for a wild card spot.
Yeah,
I think after their bye week.
Okay, that's fair.
Where's their bye week? Do we know offhand?
Hold on,
the
give me a second.
Falcons.
If not a big deal.
Lose.
I got it
Falcons
right.
or Bucks?
Falcons.
Week 14. All right, maybe a little before the bye week.
That's kind of late.
I'm going to say the Charger game he starts. Week 9.
Okay. Let's move on to the next game because I want to get through all these.
Titans Commanders.
Okay. Titans Commanders. All right. Do we put any blame at all on Ron Rivera on the performance of the Commanders? And for the Tennessee Titans, is their 3rd win in a row a reset for the team that we've known the Titans to be, or are they, or do we think that they're still actually the team that we saw the first 2 games of the week?
Yes, and the second one.
You think they're really the 0-2 team, not the 3-2 team?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I also think that Ron Rivera has his share of reasons for losses in Washington.
Okay.
I agree. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Sorry, Kendall. No, go ahead.
I think Rivera is responsible. And I do think the Titans are kind of resetting a little bit. I don't think it'll be more than kind of what we're seeing. Like, I think they're going to win games just by running the ball and, Tannehill and doing the play action. And they're going to win games 21-17 a bunch of times.
Both teams' style of offense is so bad. Like I don't know who to blame in Washington because in my personal opinion, you can't get a running game going if you keep switching out guys. Stick to one guy. And then Tennessee, I don't know if they're good or not. Well, they'll probably be in the playoffs just because that's who they are.
Okay. All right. Next.
Texans Jaguars.
All right. At what point do you start being concerned that Trevor Lawrence is more of a great college player, average NFL player, and do the Texans do the Texans move on from Davis Mills
Like after this year,
after this year?
I do think they move on from Davis Mills.
Which is a shame because I like him as a quarterback.
I understand. I understand he's not lighting anything up, but I feel like he's not the reason Houston's losing games.
No, I don't think he's the reason Houston's losing games either. It's just, I think it just all. What just happened?
I don't know.
I think it just falls under circumstance. Like, they got to get a better quarterback. If that makes sense.
Mm.
I don't know. Like, it's tough because he's not bad. He just. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe with better weapons, he'll be better.
Okay, and then the Trevor Lawrence question.
I think you have to wait for the full year this year to figure out who he is.
I agree with that because he lost a year in his rookie year.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think you just unfortunately you ride it out.
All right, next game.
49ers Panthers.
Okay.
Matt Rule got fired.
Yes. With Matt Rule being fired and there being obvious, no good answers at the quarterback position, do we truly buy into reports that there's a fire sale about to be happening in Carolina
100%.
for the likes of Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore?
100%.
But specifically those two players. What do you think the percentage is likelihood that they're traded before the trade deadline and then before the draft? And then for the 49ers, the offense is doing more than enough to win, or they're doing, they're not just doing what it used to be where it was the defense went out and won and they're coasting. They're contributing in rushing and receiving. Garoppolo's doing his fair share out there. But is this San Francisco 49ers defense on pace to be the best defense we've seen in the past decade?
No, if only because they just lost a bunch of people to injury this week. Mostly just tore his ACL. They think Bosa's going to be out at least 2 weeks with a groin injury.
Who tore their ACL?
Emmanuel Mosley. And Jimmy Ward just broke his hand.
He could
Well,
play
the hand, he'll be back next week.
Wrap it in some tape.
Just-
Got a club.
Just put the club on him.
Yeah.
Man, imagine punching a fucking ball out with that thing.
Do I think they'll be the best in the past decade? No. Do I think that they'll be the best defense in the NFL this season? I'll give them 70% odds on that. I think there are a couple teams that can challenge them for that, but not many.
I think in the Carolina, I think those specifically the McCaffrey and Moore will be traded, even by the trade deadline, whatever that is.
I heard Buffalo's in on McCaffrey, and Jesus Christ, if that happens.
They came out and said that that's not real.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
but
not?
teams lie all the time.
But imagine if Buffalo did that. What the fuck did they need a first round pick for?
A good way to hasten their collapse by trading out pieces when they already used 2/3 and a second on running backs.
Fuck it, you get McCaffrey.
And I kind of
Number 25 on the Chiefs.
Number 25, that was Hilaire. I know he didn't get his head around.
No, he did. No, he did. He turned. They showed the replay. He turned his head around.
He turned
And
it to the side. He wasn't looking back around.
Oh, what an idiot!
More than that, I'm just impressed that Mahomes has the accuracy to pinpoint the back of somebody's head while he's on the run like that. That was pretty cool. Anyways.
And for the
Where
49ers...
did McCaffrey go?
We're not talking about that, Kyle.
No, I'm just talking to myself. I'm just saying that.
I agree with what Massey said for the 49ers. I don't think they'll be the best of the past decade, but for this season, I think there's a very good chance that they'll end up being the best.
The only two off the top of my head that I can see giving them a run for their money is a healthy Buffalo and a healthy Cowboys.
Okay. Next game.
Cowboys, Rams.
All right. Simple question for Cowboys. Do you start Dak Prescott if he's 100% healthy to go in week 6?
Yes.
And for the Rams, this one is actually a homer question. Do we think that the immediate connection that Matthew Stafford saw with Cooper Kupp and how good Cooper Kupp is playing, coming off of his extravagant year last year, do you think that Matt Stafford is just overfeeding, and I don't mean like in a negative way, but like, do you think he's just overfeeding Cooper Kupp, and that's the reason we're not seeing the actual, the emergence of what people thought Allen Robinson was going to be to this offense? Or is Allen Robinson, was last year actually the start of like Allen Robinson's decline as a receiver?
Who were you asking that to? Because you said homework.
Well, like everybody.
It's absolutely less about feeding Cooper Kupp, and it's more about Robinson having an issue, or at least the coaching staff's ability to get him involved in the offense correctly. I think more of the first, primarily because even with Stafford throwing the ball to Kupp a ton, fourth stringer Ben Skoranek has more catches, yards, and everything else than Allen Robinson. Tyler Higbee, who's a tight end, has more ability.
And yeah, I'm not saying Stafford's not giving the ball elsewhere. I'm just saying from like and like the Higbee thing, the Higbee and the running backs, I want to X-nay them. I just want to go from just straight receivers standpoint.
Just straight receiver standpoint? No,
Yeah.
I think it has more to do with either Robinson or the coaching, nothing to do with Stafford.
You don't buy into the Stafford is racist notion?
Considering Calvin Johnson was his receiver for 10 years? No, I do not.
Yeah, but I mean...
Did he have a white guy?
Yeah,
Also,
I don't remember his name.
You have to remember that everybody in rural Georgia cheers for the Georgia Bulldogs, and they don't have one good white player. Racism can be put aside for football.
That's not true. Their tight end is pretty fucking good.
Yeah. The entire southern part of the United States has proved racism doesn't exist on football Saturdays and Sundays.
This is true. Unless you're Riley Cooper. Hey-o.
And the Cowboys, Richard Sherman said it best. They have to. He's getting paid a shit ton of money. Should he? No. I think Cooper Rush might be better fit for that team. But they're going to.
And my argument on it has nothing to do with like, Cooper Rush is statistically lighting it up, because I don't, he's not. I mean, he's had some good games and whatnot, but mojo,
he does enough to keep them in games. That's all he does.
Not even that. Just from a mojo standpoint, the mojo is working in Dallas right now.
I guess
they came out. Well, they're 4-0 in the last 4 games. It's they're firing on all cylinders as a team. Is the offense putting up 1 billion yards and points? No, but they're doing everything they need to do on offense to not lose games. They're doing everything they need to do on defense to win games, and it's all clicking. So, taking, it's different than, taking out the third string cornerback who's been playing cornerback 1 versus the quarterback. Do you think that starting, putting Dak in the chemistry aspect of it?
I mean, I would play Rush. I mean, so if he along the line starts to struggle, oh no, darn, we have Dak Prescott as our backup. What are we going to do? It's like, that's a great problem to have.
I think they're going to go back to Dak because, what they're paying him. But I hate that argument because it shouldn't matter. I understand you're paying him, it's going to matter.
Right, well, and I'm not asking from a standpoint of money. I'm asking from the standpoint of, should they do it?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because if they weren't on the roll that they're on, then yeah, but they're playing very well, and they're still winning games. I mean, I look at it as don't rock the boat. You know, even if you go till he gets a loss, then okay. But until then, why shift the whole momentum? I don't know. It seems like it'd be a bad call to me.
Okay. All right. Next game, Eagles Cardinals.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Okay. So for Eagles Cardinals, for Cardinals, is Cliff Kingsbury the only thing holding back Arizona, or are you in the camp of that? Regardless of who coaches that team, Kyler Murray's just not the next level quarterback type argument. And from the Philadelphia standpoint, what was this from the Philadelphia standpoint? Oh, from the Philadelphia standpoint, what do you need to see from the Eagles to have them, in your mind, be undoubtedly the best team that the NFC can offer going into the postseason?
Sorry, I lost the Eagles question.
What else, if anything, do you need to see from the Eagles to, in your mind, say that they're undoubtedly the best team the NFC has to offer?
Nothing. I'm good with that. I think currently the Eagles sit atop the NFC and aren't coming down from the pedestal anytime soon. As for Arizona, I think both can be true. I think it's both the coaching and the quarterback. I don't think that the quarterback is above Jared Goff level. I think he has an ability to hit these really lucky balls because he pushes a lot more bullshit and gets lucky with it sometimes. And he has mobility, but beyond that, I don't think he's anything super special. And Cliff Kingsbury is very obviously a bad coach.
I said something in the game yesterday that caught my eye. They said that Kingsbury never moves receivers around.
Never moves what?
They don't move receivers around. They just stay in the same
Right.
spot. I think that's a killer to that offense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think too. So Eagles, that I don't have to prove anything to me. I think they're the best.
And they have an easy schedule.
Yep. And I think it's like, so this is what they wanted. This was like Kingsbury's plan. They got the quarterback they wanted, and they just the game plan's not good. They had all these best laid plans, but it doesn't work. So it's like, hey, you got your personnel.
I'm not gonna write off Kyler Murray until 2 weeks after Hopkins gets back. Because I do think that offense could be very electric.
Woogie, woogie, woogie.
Yep.
Excellent.
Because Hollywood Brown is playing very well for the Cardinals. And I do think Hopkins is going to make him better. Zach Ertz has been playing well. Running backs are kind of whatever there. But they're producing okay. I think it's more in the coaching than I do the quarterback.
Okay.
Yes, but I still don't think that the quarterback is any good.
That's fine. It's your opinion, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
You're still a homo, bro.
All right, let's clean it up.
Shut up, Kendall.
All right. This next one is it's the Viking or Ravens Bengals. This one is a simple one. You guys can give explanations. Bengals are 2-3. Ravens are 3-2. I think that both franchises. I think it's fair to say both franchises are not where they want to be. I think both of them would have slated themselves as 4-1 or 5-0 teams at this point. Coming into the season, with Baltimore's defense for the first time in a long time looking not so good, and the Bengals' explosive offense looking very tameable coming off their Super Bowl, which head coach is more likely in jeopardy of serious hot seat discussions at the end of the season.
Zach Taylor will be on the hot seat more.
I think both coaches are safe, but I would say Zach Taylor more than Harbaugh. Just because the way that Burrow's playing right now, he's staring down fucking one receiver. And it's
Not only
so
that,
obvious. So
Kyle,
obvious.
to talk more on what you had mentioned earlier about the Cardinals' offense. There's something even more glaring about the Bengals' offense that people have noticed through 5 weeks. You guys see the thing that they did on ESPN?
They won 2 plays.
Well, yes. You guys see the thing on ESPN a couple weeks ago where you could tell what the play was based on what McCaffrey was doing?
No.
However they motioned him, if he was behind or to the right of the quarterback or parallel to him, it was going to be a passing play, and if it was behind him ever so slightly, it was going to be a running play. The Bengals do the exact same thing. If the running back is standing straight up, it's going to be a pass play. If he's crouched or on his knees or something like that, it's going to be a run play. Somebody ran through the last 3 games, every play in like fast motion. It was like a 7-minute video, but it was the same for every single play. You could tell what it was.
And then the Ravens side of it, their defense just got hurt more. Because Marcus Williams is going to miss some time.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on. I thought their defense was going to be insane this year. And they're just not. I don't know what the reason is. I don't have an answer. They're just kind of an average. Both teams, I think, are just average football teams. Because the Bengals' offensive line is just as bad.
I think
They're probably even they're worse than they were last year, in my opinion.
I think to answer the question, I think Zach Taylor will be more at the risk on the hot seat.
Okay. And then the final game is the game that's going on now. Chiefs, Raiders. So this one we're not going to obviously base on anything that's happened in this game or what the outcome is because we don't know it. But for the Chiefs, is there any reason to doubt that they're still not the favorite in the AFC, just from the standpoint of like we always kind of had the same conversation with other teams, no matter how good they were, the Steelers, the Colts, et cetera, and the Patriots era, where it was, like, cool, you're doing all these great stuff, but until you win the Super Bowl, it's still the Patriots AFC. Like, sure, there were years they didn't make it, but the AFC winning it was farther and fewer between. You know what I mean? But so the question would be somewhere like is the Chiefs still the favorite in terms of being the Super Bowl representatives of the AFC, regardless of how good the Bills are, because the Bills have been good now and it hasn't amounted to anything. Whereas every year there's questions about the Chiefs, and every year they're playing for the Super Bowl, it feels like. And then from the Raiders' standpoint of things, if the Raiders end up having, the season it's looking like they're going to have at 1-3, playing the Chiefs on Monday night with, no one would be surprised if they go to 1-4. If they end up, being a bottom of the league team, do we see the end of the Derek Carr situation?
I think you can. But I think it's all Josh McDaniel.
I think McDaniels is gone after a year before Derek Carr was gone.
Okay.
I think the AFC still runs through Kansas City, just kind of like the New England thing, and I think we've seen enough from Derek Carr that it would be the end.
If Carr is gone, McDaniels is gone with him. I don't think he makes it a season.
Okay.
I don't think there's a world in if anyone is gone, it's not McDaniels. I don't know. I'd say the Chiefs are still the favorites, if only by pedigree. Like, they're the popular choice to say. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. My argument for it would be that every year during the Patriots dynasty, there was either the Steelers or the Colts or the Jets for that time frame or the Ravens were like, oh, like this team is the team to beat, and it's like
The
You know,
best way
but-
I can say it is you have to go through the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. Will they make it to the Super Bowl? As toss up. I think you can get to the point where you could challenge them. I don't think that they're the team that you're gonna look and say there's nobody that can fucking touch these guys. But I think you're gonna have to get through them if you want to get to the Super Bowl.
That's it. That's all I got.
There you go. I like
sign
that.
off. Just some time to sign off. Next week
Kyle.
we'll do this with preseason hockey.
Nice. I'm in. Should be so much fun.
Maybe.
Kyle,
What?
how's your beer?
Terrible.
That's a bummer.
I said it 4 weeks in a row. Fuck this beer.
Kendall.
God.
This is excellent. I'm a big fan.
No. Kendall,
Yes.
you're a good-looking guy. Paul, how is your water?
Thank
I
you.
actually had two liquid deaths. Sorry, something stuck in my throat. I had the severed lime, which I like a whole lot. It's got that the bitterness hint of lime. I like that a whole lot. And then I had the mango chainsaw, which I like a whole lot. I like all this stuff.
Nice. That's a pretty rad name.
Death to
Kendall,
plastic, murder your thirst.
Yes.
Kendall, still not ready for you yet. Mock, how is your
Excellent.
water?
He's not here.
Cool. I'm going to assume it was crisp and refreshing. Kendall,
Yes.
we'll get to you after we go for mine. I was drinking a gallon of water today, and on this show, I finished my gallon, so I'm pretty happy.
Hey.
Kendall, go ahead.
Good on you.
Congratulations, Massey.
Nice.
Oh, there
Alright.
it is.
Whiskey sour with the ripe, excellent Connecticut product. So, if you are in the tri-state area, definitely go. I don't know the price point because this was from, in fact, the Riddler collection. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm anyone who's a mixed drink person, definitely add this to your repertoire.
Or repertoire.
It's like Kyle's second favorite word. I don't even remember what the first one was. I remember giving with P, though.
Pedantic.
Pedantic, that's it. All right. Paul, go ahead and finish up.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
if you can do it, where can they find us?
Find us on Facebook at Getting Sports with Drunk, Twitter and Instagram at GSWD_4.
Make sure to use the hashtag GSWD for all your daily uses, whether it's, living in just absolute sports purgatory like the cupcake, or, celebrating life irresponsibly.
Fuck
Like,
that.
like, comment, subscribe on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
I'm a big fan of Gaggle Podcast.
I know, I said that one all fucked up.
Also, Kyle, why are you not a fan of living life irresponsibly? You're the
Well, I
most
thought you-
irresponsible human being I know.
I thought you said responsibly.
No, who am I, the Modelo guy?
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was
Copyright.
right.
Kendall, PPRN.
Peter Pinot Show returns this Wednesday at 7:30. Mixtape Saturday, I believe, is this coming Saturday. So stay tuned for the lineup. And anytime shows aren't on, there's music playing. So tune in.
Hooray. I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll figure it out. Until then, I'm your hostess, Cupcake the Riddler.
Paul's gonna
I'm
make a
not.
game.
What, Kyle?
I said Paul's gonna make a game.
I'm not.
Sheen Washable.
No.
I'm Mock.
Interrupting
Watch
Souls. The Mask Chris Massey.
And the Red of a Red Baron. Meow.
Washable.